When you think about a math textbook, you're probably picturing a classroom, right? Maybe some chalkboards, a little bit of algebra you've tried your best to forget. But what if a math book wasn't about grades at all? What if it was actually a tool for survival, for business, and for genuine empowerment? We're about to dive into a document that tells that exact story. Okay, take a good look at this photo. This is a community gathering in Mozambique, back around 2002. Now, what on earth could a manual full of sums and tables possibly have to do with the daily lives, the health, and the economic future of the people you see here? Well, as it turns out, pretty much everything. You see, this wasn't some textbook for kids in a formal school. No, this was something else entirely, designed for a very specific and incredibly important group of people. So the manual is called Manual do Tu Nível Matemática, and it was made for adult members of cotton farming associations, part of a program by the Cooperative League of the USA. And the goal? It wasn't about abstract knowledge, it was all about functional literacy. We're talking about math you could actually use right away. And that right there brings us to the real why behind this whole project. The mission went so much deeper than just teaching people how to add and subtract. It was about fundamentally changing their place in their own economy. The manual's introduction has this one really powerful line. The purpose is to place everyone in the condition of active participants. Just think about that phrase for a second. An active participant isn't someone who's just taking orders, right? It's someone who has a voice, someone who can analyze, decide, and even lead. And being an active participant wasn't some vague, fluffy idea. No, it meant being able to do real things, to calculate your own production costs, to set a fair price for your goods, to control your expenses so you don't end up in debt, and, this is the big one, to understand and fairly distribute the profits. This is literally the language of business, all taught through basic math. So how did the manual actually pull this off? Well, it translated these huge ideas into these incredibly practical, real-world lessons. I mean, calculations that could affect everything from somebody's health to the success of the entire harvest. Get this. This is not a theoretical problem. This table comes from the manual's health unit, and it's teaching people how to calculate chloroquine dosages for malaria treatment. In a place where malaria is a constant deadly threat, this isn't just math, it's a public health tool. Getting this calculation right could literally save a life. And then the lessons just shift seamlessly from health right over to the harvest. Here's a word problem straight from the book. It's not about Train A leaving a station at noon. Nope. It's about the women's group of the NAFCO Association and the real sacks of sunflowers and beans that they produced. It grounds the math in their collective work, and importantly, it acknowledges the vital role of women in the community's success. The manual even gets into defining business terms, but it does it in the most practical way you can imagine. Finished products. What's the definition? It's not some abstract jargon. It's simple. Everything that has been harvested and is ready to be sold. It just creates this perfect, clear line from the work in the field to the money in the market. Okay, so how did they teach all this? Well, the manual didn't just throw a bunch of problems at people. It very carefully built a path, building skills one step at a time and always using examples that felt familiar and real. They start with the basics like addition without carrying. This example uses the very same problem we just saw, 35 sacks plus 22 sacks, and see how they break it down into tens, the D for dezenas, and units, the U for unidades. It makes the whole process so visually clear. And from there, it naturally builds to the next step, addition with carrying. The context is still about farming, adding up kilograms of goods, but the complexity just goes up a notch. That little +1 that gets carried over is visually guided, making a kind of abstract concept feel totally concrete and manageable. And there's a real human touch in here too. They use names. This isn't just some random subtraction problem. It's Mrs. Rose's problem with her cans of milk. That one small detail makes the math so much more relatable. It transforms it from a boring chore into a practical tool for managing a real household. But the manual's vision was even bigger than just arithmetic. It was about equipping these farmers with a whole toolkit of skills they needed for managing their lives, their land, and their communities. Look at this. Geometry isn't introduced as some abstract chapter in a book. It's a practical guide to calculating the area of your machamba, your farm plot. I mean, that knowledge is real power. It's essential for planning what to plant, for estimating your potential yield, and for understanding the true value of the land you're working. This is just brilliant.
To practice subtraction with bigger numbers, the manual uses a table of independent states for Mozambique and its neighbors. So at the exact same time you're learning how to subtract 1961 from 1975, you're also getting a lesson in civics, in history, and in regional context. It's just a beautifully efficient way to build different kinds of knowledge all at once.
And finally, the manual brings it all the way home to the most personal calculation there is, figuring out your own age. This problem about Mr. Mwatamana, born in 1935, it's really a template. It teaches you that math isn't just for crops or medicine, it's a tool for understanding your own life story, your own place in time. So at the end of the day, this Mozambican math manual was never really just about numbers. It was a tool built on a deep, deep respect for its audience. It connected every single lesson to their health, their work, and their identity. It proves that how we teach is every bit as important as what we teach. And it kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? What are our own tools for learning? Our textbooks, our apps, our videos, what do they reveal about what we truly value?